6.4. The sine law. Given a right angle triangle, we can find the missing sides using Pythagoras or trig ratios, SOHCAHTOA. Unfortunately, this only works for right angle triangles. It is possible to find the missing angles and sides of a triangle, which is not a right angle, using something known as the sine law or the sine rule. The sine law is very useful for solving triangles, and it works for all of them. The sine law is A over sine of A equals B over sine of B equals C over sine of C. Now there are three parts to this law: A's, B's, and C's, just like there are three parts to a triangle. In order to use the sine law, we need to use two of these three parts. So here is a typical triangle. Let's try labeling it. Now we know capital A's go on the angles. So let's call this angle A, let's call this angle B, and let's call this angle C. To label the sides, we now have to go across from the angles. So this one is little a, across to little b, and across to little c. So you can tell from our little diagram here that we could solve for any one of our angles or any one of our sides. You'll need to know three pieces of information in order to solve for the fourth. Let's look at an example. Solve using the sine law to find the missing side C. So we're looking for C. So right away, let's start labeling. I've got angle A, angle B, angle C. So let's go look at my sides. Cross from angle A is side A. Cross from side B is angle A is side B. And of course C is already labeled as what we're looking for. So the first thing I do is write down the sine law. A over sine of A equals B over sine of B equals C over sine of C. Now we have to eliminate one of these parts. So we're looking for side C. So we need to have my C's involved. Now the question is, where do we know both an angle and a side? Is it for A's or is it for B's? I know angle B to be 35 and side B to be 4. I don't know A and I don't know A. So I'm going to choose to work with the B's. So right away I'll cross out my A's. Don't need it. Let's plug in my information. Little b is side B, so that is 4, over sine of 35 equals, well, I'm looking for little c, over the sine of 105. So now let's turn to our calculator. Turn it on, clear it. So let's figure out the sine of 35. On this calculator, sine 35. Close the brackets, equals 0.573576, and so forth. So I've got 4 over 0.5735. I'll just use the first three decimals. This equals C over the sine of 105. Clear it. Sine 105. Close the brackets. And I get 0.9659, so on. So 0.9659. From here, I'm going to use cross multiplication in order to solve. So I'm going to go 0.5735 times c. A number and letter, the best thing I can do is write them beside each other. Equals 4 times 0.9659 equals 3.8636. Now to solve for c, I'm going to divide by 0.5735, both sides, 5735. My c is going to equal, I've already got 38636 in the calculator, divide by 0.5735 equals 6.7, and we'll round to 4. My units is centimeters. So I've used the sine law with my c and my a's to determine this side is 6.74 centimeters. Now let's look at example 2. Solve using the sine law to find the missing angle A. So here's angle A right here. First step is always to label. Angle A, little a. Angle B, little b. Angle C, little c. Next step is to write out the sine law. A over sine of A equals B over sine of B equals C over sine of C. Well, which two of these three do we want to use? I'm looking for angle A, so I have to have angle A. Am I going to choose B or C's? Well, my diagram shows numbers for C, so I'm going to choose C's. Cross out the B. So little a is 10 over sine of A, that's what I'm looking for, equals little c is 8 over the sine of C, which is 35. Let's pull out our calculator. I'm going to do the sine of 35. So I've got sine 35, 0.5735. So 10 over the sine of A equals 8 over 0.5735. Cross multiply. Sine of A and 8, well, I'll write them beside each other. 8 sine of A equals 0.735, which is already my calculator, times 10, will give me 5.735. I'm going to divide both sides by 8. And the sine of A is going to be 5.735 divided by 8. 0.7169. Now, in order to find A, I've got to do the inverse of sine. We saw this before. We have our number in our display on our calculator. We hit second function sine, and we get an error. This calculator is a little unique. I have to hit second function sine first, and then my decimal. 46.7169. And my angle A is 45.7. But our question asks us to round to the nearest angle. So my nearest angle is 46 degrees. Final answer.